She walked in wearing the same dress she'd worn for our anniversary 2 years ago, the red one with the low back and little buttons that went halfway down her spine, and I remember thinking, this woman either really missed me today, or something's up. I'd just come back from a weekend fishing trip with my brother, our once-a-year escape from the noise, and when I opened the door, she was standing there barefoot, hair curled, red lipstick on, and 2 steaks already resting on the counter like we were about to celebrate something. There were candles too, not the scented kind she usually lit to mask the smell of garlic after cooking, but the long tapered ones we hadn't used since that dinner party with her college friends 4 years ago. I stood there with my tackle box in one hand, my duffel bag in the other, trying to process what I was looking at, and she smiled like it was just another night, like nothing about this was unusual. "Missed you," she said, coming over to kiss me. "Go wash up. Dinner's almost ready." So I did, even though every part of me felt like I'd stepped into the wrong house. We hadn't touched each other in weeks before I left, hadn't had a real conversation in maybe longer than that, and suddenly she was humming to herself in the kitchen like some 50s housewife who'd just finished baking a pie for her war hero husband. When I came back out, the table was already set, wine poured, plates warm, potatoes mashed the way I liked. Even the salad had those little shaved almonds she always said were too expensive. I sat down, and for 10 minutes, we ate in silence except for the occasional clink of forks, and then she looked up from her plate and said it, like she was ordering dessert. "I want us to try again," she said. I steady on mine. "I've been thinking, and I don't like where we've been lately. I want to fix it." It should have felt good, should have given me hope or relief or maybe even just the satisfaction of being right that something had been off, but instead, my stomach turned, not because I didn't want things to work, but because it was all too sudden, too staged, too polished. I'd been gone for 3 days, not 3 years, and she'd gone from cold and distant to seductress wife in less time than it takes to rot a banana. Still, I played along. I nodded, smiled, told her I missed her too, and we finished dinner like we were on our first date. Afterward, we went to the couch, and she leaned into me like she used to back when we'd binge shows all night in our pajamas. She touched my hand, said she missed how we used to laugh, and started pulling me toward the bedroom with that same soft voice she used to use when we were younger and broke and in love, and everything we did felt like the first time. And I let her. But here's the thing, when we got there, when she started unbuttoning that red dress like a scene out of a damn perfume commercial, I noticed something. A smudge. Not makeup, not dirt. It was on her thigh, faint, but definitely there. A handprint. I froze. She didn't. She kept going, like she didn't know. Or maybe like she didn't care. I stopped her, touched the mark lightly, looked her in the eye, and said, "What's this?" She blinked, and for the first time that night, I saw something real on her face, hesitation. "What?" she asked, pretending not to know. "This," I repeated, more firmly, still holding her hip. "It's a handprint. It's not mine." She pulled back slightly, eyes darting down, then back to mine. "Don't be ridiculous," she said, already moving away, already turning her back to me like I'd accused her of something offensive, instead of just noticing what was right in front of my face. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I stood there in the bedroom, heart pounding, eyes locked on her bare shoulder as she bent to pick her dress off the floor. I didn't have a plan, didn't even have a fully formed thought in my head, but I knew in my bones that she was trying to cover something up. And I also knew that this wasn't the first time. "Did someone come here while I was gone?" I asked, quieter now, almost too calm. She paused, halfway into her robe, not looking at me. "No," she said, too fast. Then she walked out of the room. And I stood there staring at that damn handprint like it was a message written in blood. The next morning, I watched her from the kitchen as she moved around the living room like nothing had happened. She picked up her mug, scrolled on her phone, and laughed at something on the TV, like she wasn't walking around with someone else's fingerprint on her skin the night before. I sat at the table pretending to look through some emails on my laptop, but I wasn't reading a single word. I was watching every move, every pause, every glance she made at that damn phone she kept within reach like it was attached to her. I didn't sleep much the night before. I kept replaying the way she brushed off my question, how quickly she left the room, how easy it was for her to lie to my face and then sleep soundly beside me like she didn't owe me a single explanation. Something was broken, and I wasn't going to fix it by pretending I didn't see it. I waited until she got in the shower. As soon as I heard the water start, I walked to her purse. I never touched her things before, never had a reason to. I trusted her. But trust doesn't survive unanswered questions and skin marks. Her purse was open, And the first thing I pulled out was a small notepad she always carried for work. She used to write grocery lists in it, reminders for appointments, the kind of stuff married people scribble down so they don't forget how to keep a life going. I flipped through the pages slowly. Halfway through, I found what I didn't even know I was looking for: 3 names written in rushed handwriting, all men's names, underlined, with times next to them. One of them I recognized. Jonah. She mentioned him once, said he was the new guy at work, annoying but harmless. The kind of guy who brings in donuts unasked. The kind you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting. Except apparently she didn't. I heard the shower cut off, so I dropped the notepad back into her bag and walked to the kitchen like I hadn't just found a piece of evidence that put my gut on red alert. She came out in a towel, smiled, and kissed my cheek like everything was normal. I wanted to say something right then, but I needed more. What if I was wrong? What if Jonah was just a coworker and the times were for meetings? But what if he wasn't? So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed her. The next morning, she left the house at 9:10 a.m., saying she had errands before her shift at noon. I waited a few minutes, grabbed my keys, and tailed her car out of the neighborhood, staying back enough not to be obvious. I felt ridiculous, like some low-budget detective, but the adrenaline was keeping me from caring. She didn't go toward the clinic where she worked. Instead, she drove toward the industrial park just outside of town, a place with office rentals, small warehouses, and car service businesses. I parked across the street and waited. She pulled into a side lot, got out, and walked into a narrow building with tinted windows and a door marked 142. No signs. No company name. I sat there for 20 minutes. Then 30. I was about to get out and walk up to the building myself when she came out with someone. He was tall, probably around my age, jeans and a polo, not dressed like a boss or a delivery guy. They weren't holding hands or doing anything obvious, but the way she looked at him, tilted her head slightly, smiled just a bit too long, it was enough. They stood by his car for a few minutes. She touched his arm once. Then she got in her own car and drove off, heading toward the clinic. He didn't leave right away. He stood there alone, looking at his phone, then went back inside. I didn't follow her again that day. I went home. I sat in the living room, stared at the TV, didn't even bother turning it on. My brain was a mess of images and questions and that name written in her notepad. Jonah. Was that him? Was it someone else? I couldn't stop picturing the handprint. The way she lied without blinking. The sudden interest in making things feel romantic again. It all started to line up. She'd been trying to distract me, calm my suspicions, maybe make herself feel less guilty. Whatever it wasn't working. That night, I didn't say a word. We ate dinner in silence, both of us pretending to be fine. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I said no. She shrugged and went to the bedroom. I sat at the table until the food was cold, then cleaned up and joined her in bed. I didn't touch her. I didn't even look at her. I lay there facing the wall, counting the seconds between her breaths, wondering how many nights she'd done this same act with someone else. I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I didn't plan the confrontation, not like people think you would. There was no moment in front of a mirror rehearsing lines or imagining how she'd react. It just happened. The next Saturday, we were having coffee in the kitchen, both of us sitting in silence like strangers waiting for a bus. She was scrolling through her phone, pausing every now and then to type something, smiling faintly like whatever was on her screen mattered more than the person across from her. I'd had enough. I wasn't angry in that moment. I was just done carrying the weight of pretending like I hadn't noticed the changes, the lies, the quiet slipping away of what we used to be. So I said her name, not loud, but clear enough that she looked up immediately. Yeah, she said, still holding the phone, thumb hovering like she was mid-text. I need to ask you something, I told her, keeping my tone steady. And I want you to think about your answer before you say anything. She lowered her hand, placed the phone on the table slowly, and leaned back like she already knew what was coming. All right, she said, watching me carefully. Go ahead. You seeing someone? I asked. Is there someone else? Her mouth didn't move for a good few seconds. She looked at me, blinking slowly, then exhaled and glanced down at the table like the grain in the wood suddenly became interesting. Then she laughed, not loud, more like a quick puff of air. You're serious? She asked. Dead serious, I said. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for her coffee, took a sip, and said, No, there's no one. I nodded, not reacting, just letting the silence press against her a bit. Then why were you at that building last Thursday? I asked. Door 142. You were there almost an hour. With a guy. Tall, dark shirt, gray car. Who is he? Her body stiffened. I watched her face carefully. She didn't flinch, didn't gasp, but her mouth tightened and her eyes shifted like she was picking which version of the story to feed me. When she looked back up, the expression had changed. Less confused wife, more cornered animal. You followed me? She asked, tone sharper now. I did, I said. And I'll keep following if I have to, because I'm not stupid, and I'm not going to pretend I don't notice when my wife changes every habit she's had for 14 years. She stood up fast, chair scraping the floor hard, and backed away from the table. I can't believe this, she said, voice rising. You spy on me, and now you want me to explain myself? I want the truth, I said, also standing up. Just once, I want to hear you say something honest about what the hell is happening between us. You think I haven't noticed the new lingerie you don't wear for me? The late shifts? The way you smile at your phone and keep it glued to your hand like it's got your oxygen in it. She crossed her arms, jaw clenched, and looked away for a moment before saying anything. It's not what you think, she said, quieter now. Then tell me what it is, I demanded. There was a long pause. Then she spoke, slowly, every word careful. His name is Adam. He works in HR at the clinic. I met him months ago during some mandatory training. We talked. He made me feel, noticed. I nodded, waiting, feeling that strange detachment that comes when the thing you feared becomes real and your body hasn't caught up to the reaction yet. We went out for lunch a few times, she continued. We talked. Nothing happened at first. And then it did. I didn't interrupt. I didn't move. She sat back down and stared at the counter as she spoke. I didn't plan it, she said. It just kept going. He was easy to talk to. You were always working or distracted or tired. I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth. How long? I asked, my voice lower now. About 3 months, she answered. And the red dress? I asked, needing to know. She blinked hard and didn't respond. Was that for him? I asked again. No, she said quickly. That was for you. I wanted to fix things. I thought maybe if we had a good night, I could end it with him. End it before or after I noticed the handprint on your leg? I said. Her face froze. She looked up sharply. I didn't realize you saw that, she said. I saw everything, I said. I saw the look on your face when I asked. I saw how fast you ran from the room. I saw how easy it was for you to lie. She started to cry, silent tears at first, wiping them away like she didn't want to give me the satisfaction of seeing them. I'm sorry, she said, voice breaking. I never wanted to hurt you. I felt invisible. Well, now you're not, I said. Now you're standing in the spotlight. I didn't explode that day. I didn't scream or throw anything or demand she leave the house. I just sat there while she cried, listening to her sniffle and wipe her face like that was supposed to mean something. I watched her try to play victim, try to talk about how she felt small and overlooked and all the things I was apparently supposed to feel guilty about so she could make her betrayal easier to swallow. But I wasn't interested in hearing her justify it. I wasn't looking for closure or reconciliation or another conversation about feelings. What I wanted was control. If she was going to blow up our marriage with some guy from her work, then I was going to make damn sure she wouldn't walk away thinking she got the better end of it. I waited 3 days. 3 full days of acting like I needed space to think. I told her I wasn't ready to talk more, told her I needed to process things and decide what I wanted. She agreed, probably relieved I hadn't packed a bag or told her to get out. She walked around careful, quiet, like she didn't want to step on the wrong nerve. She cooked dinner every night and kept checking on me like she was suddenly trying to be the wife she hadn't been in months. It was pathetic, watching her pretend like some extra seasoning and a few long stares could reverse what she'd done. I didn't say much. I told her I was still deciding, and she nodded like she understood. While she was busy playing remorseful, I got to work. I wasn't interested in taking revenge with drama or loud public scenes. I wasn't going to key her car or show up at the clinic to punch Adam in the face. That's not my style, and honestly, it wouldn't have done anything but make me look like an idiot. I wanted her to feel what I felt, not just for a moment, but in a way she couldn't shake. So I started with something simple. I backed up every file from our shared desktop to an external drive, documents, emails, photos. Everything. Then I reset the login and wiped the machine. She wouldn't notice right away, but she would. Next, I took our joint savings and split it. Cleanly. Legally. I transferred half into a new account with a different bank, under my name only. I didn't need to hide it. We both had access to the original account, and there was nothing illegal about taking what was mine. I called the credit card company and froze the cards. I ordered a new one for myself and made sure the current one would be denied if she tried to use it again. The bills were still set to autopay. I wasn't going to screw up the utilities or the mortgage. I wasn't looking to make our lives chaotic. I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. The next move was more personal. I gathered every photo we had of us together, everything framed or printed or stored in albums. I put them all in a box and left it in her car. No note. No explanation. Just a box full of memories that clearly didn't mean much to her. Then I did something I'd never done before in all our years together. I texted her sister. "Can I ask you something without it turning into a thing?" She responded almost instantly. "Of course. What's going on?" I asked her if she knew about Adam. If Melissa had ever mentioned him. If she'd ever acted strange or said something that didn't add up. There was a long pause. Then came the reply. "I thought something was off a while back, but didn't want to pry." Why? Did something happen? I didn't answer that. I didn't need to. I just said thanks and told her to take care. 10 minutes later, Melissa came into the room with her phone in hand, face pale, voice shaky. "You texted my sister?" "I did." "What did you say?" "That you were sleeping with a guy named Adam. That's all." Her mouth opened, then closed again like she was searching for the right level of outrage. "You had no right." I cut her off. "Don't talk to me about rights. You gave up the right to privacy the second you decided our marriage was optional." She didn't reply. She just walked away and slammed the door to the bedroom like it would change anything. I sat on the couch, calm, focused. I wasn't done. Not yet. The final step was the one that made it all worth it. I scheduled a meeting with the clinic director. Not to ruin her job, again, that wasn't the goal. I just wanted him to know what kind of people were making decisions in his workplace. I didn't accuse. I didn't make threats. I showed him what I had. A few pictures, a calendar with timestamps, and a very polite summary of what had been going on between his HR rep and one of his dental hygienists. He nodded. Said he'd look into it. That was enough for me. She didn't speak to me for 2 full days after I went to the clinic director. I didn't expect her to. Every time we passed each other in the house, she looked at me like she was waiting for an apology, like somehow I had betrayed her. She cooked dinner but didn't set a plate for me. She watched her shows with the door closed. I didn't care. I didn't do any of it to make her feel better. On the 3rd night, I came home from work to find her sitting in the living room with the lights off, like she had been waiting in silence for hours just to start the conversation. She looked tired, not just physically, but like the weight of everything was finally starting to press down on her in a way she couldn't ignore anymore. "I heard from the director today," she said without looking at me. "I figured you would," I replied. She took a breath and stared at her hands for a while. Then she finally looked up. "You told him everything?" "I didn't tell him anything that wasn't true," I said. "I showed him what I had and let him decide what to do with it." She nodded slowly, like she was trying to act composed, but I could see the tension in her jaw. "You wanted to ruin me," she said. "No," I answered. "I wanted to stop being the only one who felt destroyed." "That's not the same thing." She didn't argue. She sat there quiet again for a long minute. "So what now?" she asked. "What are we doing?" "We're having a final conversation," I said, sitting down across from her. "And after that, I'm done talking about it." She looked away again, like she didn't want to hear it but also couldn't bring herself to stop me. I leaned forward. "I don't hate you," I said. "I hate what you did. I hate how easy it was for you to do it. I hate that I let myself believe we were still something worth fighting for when you'd already checked out months ago." "I didn't check out," she said quickly. "I got tired of feeling like I was just part of the furniture. Like nothing I did mattered." "That's funny," I said. "Because from where I was sitting, you stopped showing up before I did. I was still here trying to talk, trying to fix things. You were too busy texting Adam during dinner." Her face tightened, but she didn't respond. "I'm not going to fight you about who was more hurt or who ignored who first," I said. "You did what you did, and I did what I had to do after that. I'm not going to keep living in this house like we're roommates in a silent war. I'm not going to wake up every day pretending that what we had still means something when it doesn't." She wiped her face quickly, trying to hide it, but the tears were there. I didn't react. I didn't feel pity anymore. "So you want a divorce," she said, flat, like she already knew the answer. "I want a life that doesn't feel like a lie," I said. "If that means divorce, then yeah." She nodded, swallowed, and for a second she looked like she wanted to scream. But she didn't. She just said one thing. "I didn't love him." "That makes it worse," I said. "You burned this down for someone you didn't even care about." She wiped her face again and didn't say anything after that. I stood up, went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. I'll start looking for a place, I said. We can talk about how to split things up civilly. I'm not interested in making it ugly. She stayed quiet, still sitting in the dark. You can have the house if you want it, I added. I don't want to live here anymore. Do you think we could ever fix this? She asked finally, voice barely audible. I turned back toward her and didn't hesitate. No, I said, because even if I could forgive you, I don't think I'd ever trust you again. And that's worse than being angry. She nodded, and that was it. No screaming, no dramatic ending, just two people sitting in the ruins of what used to be a marriage, finally realizing that there was nothing left to build on. Packing wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It wasn't emotional, it wasn't dramatic, it was just work. I boxed up my clothes, some tools, the small things that were clearly mine and mine alone, and left behind everything we'd once chosen together, the bedroom set, the couch, the dishes. The framed photos that were already tucked away in a drawer after our last conversation. I didn't take the TV or the new coffee machine or anything that might be considered shared property. I didn't care about that. I wasn't trying to strip the house, I just wanted to be done. I found a decent apartment close enough to work, a second-floor unit in a quiet building where the most noise came from a dog barking 2 doors down or the occasional door slam from the guy who clearly didn't know how to handle being single. It suited me fine. It was clean, quiet, and had nothing in it to remind me of her. She called twice the first week I moved out. The first time she said she just wanted to check how I was settling in. I answered, gave her a short update, and hung up before she could turn it into something else. The second time, she asked if we could talk again. I said there was nothing left to say and asked her not to call unless it was about paperwork. She didn't argue. She just said okay and hung up. After that, it was silence. I told a few people. My brother, my closest friend, a couple coworkers who had seen me go from worn down to hollow in the span of a month. Everyone reacted the same way, shock, a few curse words, and some version of, you didn't deserve that. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did in ways I didn't fully understand yet. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that it was over, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to clarity. I met with a lawyer a week later, laid everything out as plainly as I could, and started the process. It wasn't quick, but it was clean. She didn't fight anything, didn't contest what I asked for, didn't drag it out. I think she understood by then that the version of me who might have clung to something was gone. We signed the paperwork separately. I didn't see her that day. The lawyer called me after and confirmed it was done. Just like that, I wasn't married anymore. The days afterward weren't sad. They weren't happy either. They were just normal. I got up, made my own breakfast, went to work, came home, made dinner, watched a movie, and slept. I didn't cry. I didn't scroll through old messages or dig through photo albums. I didn't have any interest in revisiting the past or picking apart every moment where maybe things could have gone differently. It didn't matter now. She chose someone else. I chose to walk away. One night, maybe a month later, I ran into her sister at the grocery store. She looked uncomfortable at first, like she didn't know if I'd want to talk, but I smiled and said hello. She asked how I was doing, and I said I was fine, just getting back to regular life. Then she surprised me. She's been a mess, she said. I'm not defending what she did, but she's not doing great. I nodded and thanked her for telling me, but I didn't ask for details. I didn't care if she was miserable or thriving or anything in between. That part of my life was over, and I wasn't interested in keeping tabs on someone who stopped being honest with me long before I caught her. I left the store, went home, put away the groceries, and sat on my balcony watching the streetlights flicker on one by one. I thought about how quiet everything felt, how different silence was when it wasn't hiding something. There wasn't a big lesson in all of it. There was no profound takeaway or revelation. I learned what most people already know but don't want to admit. Sometimes people change, and sometimes they just stop caring, and when they do, it doesn't matter how hard you try or how much history you have, because if they've decided you're no longer part of their future, you won't be. You can try to make sense of it or find reasons or blame yourself or them, but in the end, none of that changes the fact that they made a choice and you have to live with it. I don't know what's next. I'm not thinking about dating or rebuilding or chasing some ideal version of happiness. I'm just taking it one day at a time. I work. I eat. I sleep. I exist in a space that's mine, with peace I didn't have for too long. And for now, that's enough. If she ever thinks about me, I hope she remembers that I didn't yell, I didn't hit back with the same kind of betrayal, and I didn't beg. I walked away with my dignity and left her with the truth. I think that's the only part that mattered in the end.